please, just let me try. That boy's breaking inside." The plea slipped out of Maya Williams before she even realized she was speaking, her voice low, trembling but firm. Every head turned toward the corner booth draped in velvet curtains where a small boy with golden curls sat thrashing and sobbing, fists pounding his knees. He was 5, maybe 6, pale, trembling, lost in a storm no one else could see. His shrieks rose and broke again, jagged as broken glass. Patrons grimaced. A woman in pearls whispered, "Someone take that child out." His sobs were so deep, so painful, they tore at something inside Maya. The man beside him, the infamous Vincent Duca, though she didn't yet know his name, sat frozen, shoulders tense beneath his tailored charcoal suit. The legendary Mafia boss whispered about in every corner of the city. Looked powerless for the first time in his life. Maya couldn't stand it. She set the tray on a table and started toward them. The manager hissed under his breath, "Maya, stay away, that's Duca. You so much as breathe wrong and we're done, you hear me?" But she kept walking. She knew that sound, the helpless, heart-ripping cry of a child who didn't know how to ask for comfort. She'd heard it once before from her baby brother. Back before the asthma attack that took him away forever. She moved toward the booth. A bodyguard blocked her path. "Step back, miss, please," she said softly. "He's hurting himself, can't you see? Not your problem. I know what to do, I promise." The man shoved her shoulder. She slipped on the polished floor, falling hard. Pain shot through her wrist as glass shattered near her. Wine spilled across her apron, deep red spreading like a wound. Laughter erupted from a nearby table. "Clumsy girl," someone whispered. "She's looking for attention." "She's crazy," someone muttered. "Trying to be a hero," another scoffed. "Hey." Manager stormed over. "Maya, you're done. You just ruined a night that could have paid our rent for a month." Maya ignored him. She pushed herself up, her palm bleeding from a shard of glass. Her gaze never left the boy. "Please," she whispered again. "Let me try," the guard sneered. "You've done enough. Go clean yourself up." And then came the voice that silenced everything. "Let her." Vincent Duca hadn't moved, hadn't raised his voice, but the room shifted at his words. The bodyguard hesitated, then stepped aside. Maya walked forward slowly. She crouched beside the boy, lowering herself to his eye level. "Hey, sweet boy," she said softly. "My name's Maya." The child didn't respond, just whimpered. His tiny body shook. She didn't reach out, didn't touch him. Instead, she began to hum a slow, steady tune, old as time. A lullaby her grandmother used to sing on humid Mississippi nights. "Whim, sky so wide, baby, don't you cry." The boy froze. His sobs faltered, turned into shallow hiccups. His trembling eased. "There you go," she murmured. "You're okay now, just breathe, baby, that's it." The boy pressed his forehead against the seat, eyes still wet. But calm now. The air in the restaurant changed. The tension loosened. Vincent exhaled, almost in disbelief. Maya stayed a few seconds longer, then looked up at him. "He's fine now," she said quietly, "just overstimulated." He studied her with that unreadable stare. "How did you know?" She shrugged. "My little brother used to cry the same way. The world got too loud for him sometimes." Something flickered in his gaze. Curiosity, maybe respect. "You're good with him. I just listened." Vincent's tone softened. "What's your name?" "Maya Williams." He nodded once. "Miss Williams, I'd like to hire you." She blinked. "Hire me for my son as his caretaker." Maya's stomach tightened. "I'm not for sale, Mr. Duca. I got a job already." "No." His lips curved, not quite a smile. "Whatever you make here, I'll triple it," I said. "No." She glanced at the boy. "He doesn't need money thrown at him. He needs love, patience, safety. You can't buy that." Maya turned to leave. "But the boy!" Ethan made a soft, broken sound. He was staring at her now. His small hand reached toward her. Trembling, Maya froze. That look, those wide, frightened eyes ripped her open for a second. The restaurant faded, replaced by another image. A small boy in a hospital bed years ago, her baby brother Malik, rocking and humming the same lullaby before the seizure took him. Her throat tightened. Vincent's voice broke the spell. "He hasn't looked at anyone since his mother died." Maya knelt again, tears stinging her eyes. She touched the table gently near Ethan's hand, but not on it. "Hey there, little man," she whispered. "It's okay. You ain't alone," the boy sniffled, then leaned forward, resting his head near her arm. Ma swallowed hard and looked up at Vincent. "All right," she said quietly. "I'll help, but on my terms." His brow lifted. "Which are I still keep my job here. I come by when I can. And if I think this ain't right for him, I walk, no threats, no trouble." Vincent studied her. His gray eyes softened just a little. "You have my word." Maya nodded. "Then we got a deal. Duh." As she rose, The whispers in the restaurant grew louder about the black waitress who dared talk back to a mob boss, about the way he was still watching her. Rob shot her a glare that promised consequences. She didn't care. Ethan had stopped crying. He was asleep now, cheek pressed against the napkin she'd folded for him. Peaceful, finally. Vincent looked at Maya as if she had performed a miracle. "Thank you," he said simply. She wiped her bruised arm with the corner of her apron and met his gaze. "Don't thank me yet," she murmured. "He just needs to feel safe again, that's all." Maya turned and walked back toward the kitchen, ignoring the stares and whispers. Her arm throbbed, and her pride smarted worse than the cut on her wrist. But her heart felt full in a way it hadn't in years. She didn't know that this moment, the broken glass, the lullaby, the boy's small hand reaching for hers would change everything. Vincent Duca watched her go, and for the first time in his hardened life, he felt something he couldn't control, something he hadn't felt since before the blood, before the Empire. If this moment touched your heart, leave a like and comment where you're watching from. Who knows? Someone nearby might be watching the story too. The rain started just as Maya stepped out of La Haravella. Cold drops tapped against her scraped arm and soaked the wine stain still blooming across her apron. She didn't flinch. The sting reminded her this was real. Everything that happened in there had really happened. Behind her, the glow of the restaurant shimmered in the reflection of puddles, warm and golden, but inside it had turned to glass, cracked, shifting, sharp. She walked to the bus stop with her hands still trembling, ignoring the glares from fellow staff cleaning up the shattered wine bottle and the murmurs of gossip floating behind her like exhaust smoke. Her phone buzzed, unknown number. She stared at the screen. She answered anyway. "Maya Williams. I assumed you would wait for my call," said Vincent Duca. She stopped walking. "How did you get my number?" He didn't answer that. Instead, he said, "My driver can pick you up tomorrow at 10 now. Ethan likes mornings in the garden. Wear comfortable shoes." Maya blinked. "You don't waste time, do you?" "I told you." He looked at you. "He reached for you." She didn't say anything. "You said on your terms, this is me accepting them." Maya looked up at the gray sky, let the rain wash over her face for a moment. 10 all well, but I'm not quitting my job. I wouldn't ask you to. I'm not moving into your palace. I don't care how many rooms it has. Understood. And if I say this doesn't feel right for him, I'm done. I know, she paused. I'm not scared of you, Vincent Duca. He was quiet for a beat. That's either foolish or admirable. Maybe both. The line went dead. The next morning, Maya stood on the cracked sidewalk outside her grandmother's apartment. A sleek black SUV pulled up to the curb. The driver didn't ask for her name. He just opened the door and waited. She slid into the back seat, eyes scanning everything. Smelled like leather and cedar. Quiet music played Italian. Soft piano. The Duca estate sat on the edge of the North Shore behind tall iron gates and long driveways, guarded by men in black. The gates opened without a word. The house, mansion rose from the land like something out of a movie. Columns, balconies. 3 stories of stone and glass. Inside, Maya was greeted by a woman with sharp eyes and sharper posture. Mid-60s, elegant. "I'm Rosa," she said, looking Maya up and down like she was checking for cracks. House manager Maya nodded. "Where's Ethan?" Rosa studied her. "He's in the sunroom. He doesn't like strangers." "I'm not a stranger to him," Maya replied calmly. Rosa's brows lifted slightly. "This way." The house was stunning and cold. Too clean, too perfect. Expensive furniture no one seemed to sit on. No signs of life, but the sunroom was different. Light poured in from every window. Plants thrived in corners. There were books on the floor, crayons on the table, and Ethan. He sat in a corner with a toy truck, tapping it against the tiles. He didn't look up when they entered. Maya knelt slowly a few feet away. "Hey there, sunshine, you remember me?" He didn't answer, but his hand stopped moving just for a second. Rosa hovered near the doorway like a guard. "Do you mind giving us a little space?" Maya asked without looking back. "I was told to observe." "I'm not going to run off with him." Rosa didn't budge. Ma ignored her and spoke to Ethan. "I brought something for you." She pulled a small, worn stuffed lion from her tote bag. The fur was frayed, one button eye missing. "This was my brother Malik. He used to carry it when the world got too noisy." She set it down gently. Ethan didn't move. "That's okay," she said softly. "You don't have to touch it. Just know it's here like me, Min passed." Then Vincent entered the room. He wasn't in a suit this time. Just a black button-down shirt and slacks. Still intimidating, still powerful. But somehow more human. His eyes went straight to Ethan. Then to Maya. "You came," he said. "I said I would." "I wasn't sure you would mean it, Maya shrugged. "I don't say what I don't mean." He walked over slowly, crouched beside her, close, but not too close. "He hasn't spoken since his mother died." Vincent said quietly, not a single word. He barely eats. Refuses to sleep in his bed. Mia's heart twisted. Does he hurt himself often? Less than before, but sometimes when he gets overwhelmed? Yes. Mia nodded. He's not broken. He's trying to survive. Vincent looked at her. Something unreadable in his expression. How did your brother die? Mia's throat tightened. He had seizures one night. He didn't come back from it. Vincent was silent. He was 5, Mia added. The silence stretched between them. Heavy, not awkward, just full. Then Ethan moved slowly, cautiously. He reached toward the lion, touched it, pulled it into his lap. Vincent watched, stunned. Mia smiled. Her eyes glistening. Looks like he found a friend. I don't know what to say, Vincent murmured. Don't say anything, Mia said. Just be here. That's all he needs from you right now. Rosa stepped forward. He hasn't held anything for days. Mia looked at her. Then maybe today's a good day? Vincent stood. Rosa will show you the kitchen, the garden, whatever you need. Stay as long as you'd like. I'll stay till noon. Then I have to get to the diner. He nodded. I'll have the driver take you. Nye. As he left, Mia turned back to Ethan, who now rocked gently with the lion clutched to his chest. She sat with him in silence, breathing in the soft light, letting the moment settle like dust in sunbeams. She didn't know what tomorrow would bring, but today mattered. The black SUV pulled up to the curb just before noon, precisely as promised. Mia stood on the front steps of the Duca estate, arms crossed, watching the driver step out and open the rear passenger door without a word. She didn't get in right away. Instead, she turned back toward the house. Through the glass-paneled entryway, she could still see Ethan in the sunroom, now lying on the floor with the lion cradled under his chin. Rosa sat nearby, stiff-backed, reading a newspaper. But glancing up every few seconds, Mia smiled faintly. He hadn't spoken, but he had stopped crying, progress however small. When she finally slid into the SUV's back seat, she felt the weight of the morning settle on her shoulders. It wasn't exhaustion, it was something deeper. Something like responsibility and the quiet realization that this wasn't going to be temporary. Not really, not emotionally. The ride back into the city was quiet, but her phone lit up the moment she stepped into the diner where she worked evenings. Christina, her best friend and roommate, was already at the counter prepping silverware. Girl, what the hell happened? Christina hissed as Mia slipped on her apron. Mia pulled her hair into a ponytail and avoided eye contact. I just helped a kid, that's all. I heard Rob was going to fire you, Christina said, lowering her voice. Said you embarrassed the restaurant in front of Duca himself. He didn't fire me, Mia said. He just shouted a lot. And Duca. Mia hesitated, then met Christina's gaze. He asked me to come help his son. Offered money, Ember? Christina blinked. And you said no, right? I did, Mia said quietly. At first, Christina's jaw dropped. You didn't. I saw his boy Chris. He looked like Malik. Her voice broke a little. The way he curled up on the floor. How he grabbed my hand. I couldn't walk away from that. Christina exhaled hard, folding her arms. He's dangerous. Mia, I know, Mia replied. But that boy isn't. 2 days later, Mia returned to the estate for her second visit. This time, the staff seemed to expect her. Rosa didn't glare as much. One of the guards even gave her a polite nod. She found Ethan in the garden, sitting in the shade of a trimmed magnolia tree. His lion was tucked under one arm. The other hand was running through the grass, slow, rhythmic, like he was listening to music only he could hear. Mia sat a few feet away on the edge of the stone path and pulled out a small sandwich bag filled with apple slices. Brought you some apples, she said gently. Crisp ones. Not too sweet, no response. But Ethan turned his head slightly, just enough to let her know he'd heard. She laid the apples between them and leaned back, letting the sun warm her face. For a while, neither of them spoke. She didn't expect him to. About 10 minutes in, she felt at the prickle of eyes. Someone was watching. She glanced toward the second-floor balcony. Vincent stood there, arms crossed, watching them. His expression wasn't harsh or demanding, just intense, focused. When he saw her looking, he didn't look away. He nodded once, then turned and disappeared inside. She turned back to Ethan, her heart fluttering more than it should have. You know, she said, not expecting a response. Your daddy's scary, like a hurricane in a suit. But I think he's just tired like you. Like me, she picked up an apple slice and took a bite. Ethan didn't reach for the food, but he didn't shy away from it either. Then without warning, he scooted closer just a few inches and picked up the lion, gently placing it beside the apple bag. Mia's breath caught. He was bridging the space. She reached into her tote and pulled out a small sketch pad and a few colored pencils. Want to draw with me? She asked, keeping her voice soft. Ethan didn't answer, but after a moment, he picked up a green pencil and dragged it across the page. A single line, Mia's smile bloomed like the garden around them. Later that day, Rosa showed Mia to the kitchen where the cook offered her lemonade and a ham sandwich. As Mia ate quietly at the Long Island counter, Rosa hovered in the doorway. "He seems calmer around you," Rosa said finally. "I'm not magic," Mia replied. "I just don't treat him like he's broken." Rosa's expression tightened, but she nodded once. "Mr. Duca is cautious," she said. "He has reasons, Dow." Mia sipped her lemonade. "I'm not here to judge him. I'm just here for Ethan." Rosa studied her for a long time. "You're brave," Maya gave a dry chuckle. "People only say that when they think you're about to get yourself hurt." Rosa didn't deny it as Maya was leaving that afternoon. Vincent met her at the door. He looked different again. Tired. Yes, but there was something else behind his eyes. Less stone, more storm, he drew. Maya said before he could speak. "One line. It's not much, but it's something," Vincent nodded. "He hasn't touched a crayon in months." They stood in silence for a moment. "He doesn't need a therapist right now," Maya said. "He needs a person, just one. Someone who doesn't flinch when he screams." "You didn't flinch," Vincent said. "I've heard worse." His gaze lingered on her. "I owe you." "No," she said firmly. "You owe him." Vincent stepped closer. "Will you keep coming?" Maya looked him dead in the eye. "Yes, for him, not for you." He smirked faintly. "Fair enough." The driver opened the SUV door. Maya climbed in without another word. But as the car pulled away, she found herself glancing back at the estate and wondering why the idea of leaving it felt like walking away from something she hadn't even fully stepped into yet. The next Thursday morning came with thick clouds hanging low over Chicago, the kind of sky that looked like it might crack open and pour any second. Maya stood at the front of the diner, apron tied at her waist, scanning the street. The early rush had just cleared, and Rob hadn't shown his face since yelling at her last week. Probably still trying to decide whether firing her was worth the risk of offending a Duca. Not that she cared. She folded a few napkins. Glancing out the window again, she wasn't expecting anything. She hadn't asked for the driver to pick her up today. She needed to make rent. And her shifts at the diner couldn't be skipped just because a little boy clutched her heart like a lifeline. Still, when the black SUV turned the corner and eased into the loading zone, she felt her chest tighten. Vincent stepped out himself. Not the driver, not a guard. Vincent Duca in a charcoal gray wool coat, crisp shirt open at the collar, dress shoes too expensive for sidewalk grime. He looked like he owned everything he walked past. And in his world, he probably did. Heads turned. A few customers in the diner squinted through the window. Christina, working the back counter, mouthed, "What the hell?" Vincent opened the door and stepped inside like he'd done it 1,000 times. The old bell overhead rang once. Maya met him near the coffee station, brows arched. "Everything okay?" she asked. "I wanted to talk to you in person." In front of my whole job," she said under her breath, half amused, half wary. "I called ahead," he said simply. The manager said, "You were on shift. I decided not to wait. You always get what you want, huh?" His lips twitched. "Not lately." He paused. Hands folded behind his back, then lowered his voice. "Ethan cried for you yesterday. Screamed for over an hour. Rosa couldn't calm him." Maya's breath hitched. "I told you I couldn't be there every day." "Lou, I'm not asking you to change your life," he said. "But if there's any way I could convince you to come twice a week, just until he stabilizes, I'd be grateful." That word grateful sounded strange coming from a man like Vincent Duca, as if it had to push through barbed wire before it could leave his mouth. Maya studied him. "He called my name." Vincent nodded. 3 times clear as day, Maya felt her chest ache. "That's the first time he's spoken to anyone," Vincent confirmed. "Since the funeral." She closed her eyes briefly. Grounding herself, "I'll come, just 2 days, no more." A slight bow of his head. "Thank you." He turned to leave but hesitated at the door. "Also, I had your manager dock your hours." Her head snapped up. "You what?" "Temporarily," he added quickly. "You'll still get paid, but I need you rested when you're with Ethan. You think you can just—" "I know I can," he said calmly. "But I also know you hate being told what to do. So consider it a business proposal. You rest, you get paid, you help my son, everyone wins." She narrowed her eyes. "Don't push me, Vincent. I wouldn't dream of it." And with that he walked out, leaving a room full of stunned silence and Christina mouthing profanities from behind the counter. Later that afternoon, Maya arrived at the estate. This time, escorted directly to the library. Ethan wasn't there. Rosa informed her he was having a bad morning and hadn't come out of his room, so Maya waited. The library was enormous. 2 stories of floor-to-ceiling shelves, ladders that rolled, antique globes, leather-bound books in Italian, Latin, even Greek. And yet it felt untouched, like a showpiece, not a place anyone actually used. A fire crackled in the massive hearth, trying to soften the coldness of the marble floors. Maya wandered toward the window, where she could just barely make out the garden. The magnolia tree swayed in the wind. "You don't like the library." Vincent's voice came from behind her. She turned. He was leaning in the doorway, coat gone, shirt sleeves rolled, softer than before, but still carrying the air of someone who never fully relaxed. "It's beautiful," Maya said, "but it's all surface. No life in here." He tilted his head. "Interesting. I've been in homes with less furniture and more soul." Vincent walked in slowly. "You don't pretend with me, do you?" "Never saw the point," Maya said. He moved toward a sideboard and poured himself a glass of something dark and expensive. "Do you drink?" "I sip," she said with a faint smile. He poured another and handed it to her. She took it cautiously, sniffed it. "Scotch." "You didn't come from money?" "Did you?" he asked not unkindly. She laughed softly. "My grandma used to sew other people's church hats for $10 apiece. We ate a lot of boxed mac and cheese. And now you work in a restaurant where the side of asparagus costs $30. America," she said, raising her glass. He chuckled. "Tucci." They stood in companionable silence for a moment. Then she asked, "Do you want Ethan to grow up like you?" The question hit hard. Vincent stared at the fire. "I want him to survive. That's not the same thing." "No," he admitted. "It's not." Maya set her drink down. "You have walls around you made of glass. Shiny, perfect, but still fragile." He turned slowly, meeting her eyes. "And you, I grew up behind screen doors and prayer. I know how to see through people pretending they're not bleeding." Another beat of silence, then quietly Vincent said, "Sometimes I think I was a better man when she was alive." Maybe you weren't better. Maybe you just had someone who reminded you how." Vincent looked at her like she just said something forbidden, something true, before he could reply. The door opened. Ethan stood there in his pajamas, lion in one hand, his eyes wide and watery. Maya dropped to one knee. "Hey baby, you okay?" He walked toward her slowly, then buried his face in her shoulder without a word. She wrapped her arms around him, blinking back tears. Vincent turned away, swallowing something that refused to go down. She held the boy tighter. "I'm here now," she whispered. "I got you." Ethan fell asleep on Maya's chest, his breath warm and steady against her collarbone. She sat on the carpet of the Duca library, back against the couch, holding him as if he might vanish if she let go. His lion doll was squished between them like a threadbare guardian. His tiny hand gripping its ear, Vincent watched from across the room, standing by the fireplace with his arms crossed. He hadn't said a word in 10 minutes, not since Ethan had appeared, wordless, and collapsed into Maya like gravity had simply pulled him there. "Does he often come out like that?" Maya asked. Her voice hushed so as not to wake the boy. "No," Vincent said. "That was new." Mia nodded slowly. "Then I guess we're both getting surprises today." She smoothed her hand over Ethan's hair, gentle and rhythmic. "He feels safe with me," she said mostly to herself. "That's rare." Maya looked up. "Is it?" Vincent leaned a shoulder against the mantel. "Even Rose has been with him since the day he was born, and he barely lets her touch him now." Maya kept rocking. "It's not personal. He's not shutting her out. He's just trying to survive. The only way he knows how." Vincent's jaw twitched. "That's not something a 5-year-old should have to do." "No," Maya agreed. "But some of them do." "No." She thought of Malik again, of the way her little brother used to hide in the closet when their parents fought. How he'd hum the same line over and over, a desperate lullaby until she crawled in beside him and sang harmony. A sharp knock broke the moment. Rosa appeared in the doorway, her brows drawn tight. "Mr. Duca, your 2 meeting has arrived." Vincent exhaled through his nose, clearly displeased. "Tell them to wait in the study." "I'll be down in 10 N+. Rosa hesitated, eyes flicking to Maya. "Sir, it's the Morales representative. I said 10. She gave a slight bow and disappeared. Mia looked at him. "Morales, a partner family," he said shortly. "Old money, old loyalty, but they've been restless lately. And they know about Ethan. Everyone does. And they know about his mother's death." Maya hesitated. "Do they know how she died?" Vincent's face darkened. "They know enough. She didn't press. Not now. Not with Ethan asleep in her arms and shadows creeping across Vincent's eyes." "Do you want me to stay?" she asked. He looked startled. "What, tonight, just until bedtime, if he wakes up in the night screaming again? Maybe it'll help if I'm there." He studied her for a long time. "You don't have to do that, I know." He nodded once, almost like he was afraid to say more. That evening, Maya sat on the floor of Ethan's bedroom, her back against the wall as she read aloud from a children's book about dinosaurs who brushed their teeth. Ethan sat on the bed in his pajamas, the lion tucked under his chin. He didn't laugh, but he watched her, His eyes followed every word. Vincent stood in the hallway just beyond the doorway, watching them. "She's good with him," Rosa murmured beside him. "She is," Vincent said. "She's not scared of you." "I know, she should be," Vincent didn't reply. After Ethan finally drifted off to sleep, Maya stepped out onto the second-floor balcony to clear her head. The wind carried the scent of lavender from the garden below. The lights of the city shimmered far in the distance. Muted by distance and money, she wrapped her arms around herself. Her sweatshirt was too thin for the cold, but she didn't care. Her thoughts were louder than the wind. Vincent joined her a few minutes later, 2 mugs of something steaming in his hands. He offered one. "Chamomile," he said. She took it. "You drink tea? I'm Italian, not a barbarian." She smiled and took a sip. "You always this dramatic?" "Only when I'm being watched by a woman who sees through me." Mia raised an eyebrow. "I'm not trying to see through you. You're just not very hard to read." Vincent laughed, quiet and surprised. "No one's ever said that to me, bye." "Well," she said, "maybe they weren't looking." He sipped his tea. They stood in silence for a while. "The kind that felt earned, you know," he said after a moment. The last time Ethan reached for someone like that, it was his mother. Maya looked down at her mug. "She used to sing to him," Vincent continued badly. "Out of tune, but he didn't care. He'd just curl up in her lap like he was home." Maya's throat tightened. "I used to sing with my brother." Vincent turned toward her. "What happened to him?" "He passed. Seizure. He was just 5. "Silence. I'm sorry," Vincent said quietly. "Me too." She finished her tea and set the mug on the stone railing. "I should head out. I'll have the driver." "I'll take the train, Maya. Don't worry," she said, turning toward him. "You've already done enough bossing for one day." He almost smiled. She paused. "But thank you for the tea." Mir. As she walked past him, Vincent reached out, not touching her, just hovering a hand near her arm. "I meant it," he said. "Meant what? Thank you for staying." She didn't say anything at first. Then quietly, "He's not the only one who needed someone tonight." And then she was gone, her footsteps soft against the marble floor, leaving Vincent staring out into the dark, wondering when his fortress of stone had started to feel like glass. The city train rattled under Mia's feet, the rhythmic sway and hum of the tracks lulling half the passengers into a commuter's trance. She sat near the back, hoodie pulled over her braids, earbuds in, but silent. She wasn't listening to music. She just needed the barrier, a soft excuse not to speak. Her body ached from the long day, but it wasn't the kind of exhaustion that sleep could cure. It was the kind that settled deep when your heart kept reliving every moment. Every fragile look from a child who didn't know how to ask for comfort, and every glance from a man who had forgotten how to give it. Vincent Duca wasn't just a powerful man, he was a haunted one. Maya closed her eyes and leaned against the cool window. She'd seen that look before in war vets who came through her grandmother's church in Memphis, in single fathers trying to hold themselves together for children they barely understood. But there was something else in Vincent, something darker, not just grief, guilt, and guilt was heavier. Back at the Duca estate, Vincent stood at the edge of Ethan's room, staring at the small figure curled beneath the blankets. His son was breathing slow and even, the lion clutched like a lifeline. A soft glow from the turtle nightlight on the dresser cast shadows across the room. Rosa stepped quietly behind him. He didn't scream once tonight. Vincent nodded, eyes never leaving his boy. She calms him. She's kind. "She's dangerous," he said softly. Rosa frowned. "To whom?" Vincent didn't answer. Instead, he turned and walked down the hall, his thoughts spinning faster than his feet. Every time Maya stepped into this house, she stirred the dust on secrets he'd buried deep. Her presence was a whisper in the dark corners of his past, the ones he'd locked behind thick doors of silence and strategy. And Ethan, fragile as a leaf in autumn, was starting to open in her light. It terrified him. The next morning, Maya arrived to find a strange tension humming through the estate. The guards were tighter at the gate. More cars lined the driveway. She counted 2 unfamiliar SUVs and 1 black muscle car with tinted windows that looked entirely too conspicuous to be anything but deliberate. She was escorted through the side entrance. This time Rosa met her in the hallway looking unusually tense. "What's going on?" Maya asked. "Mr. Duca has guests," Rosa said. Business, corporate, or criminal?" Rosa gave her a tight-lipped smile. "Both," Maya sighed. "So I'm supposed to what? Stay invisible?" "You'll stay with Ethan. That's all that matters." Maya nodded and headed upstairs. She found Ethan in his room, sitting beside the window, tracing circles on the glass with his finger. The lion lay beside him like always. "Hey, little man," she said gently. "You sleep okay?" He didn't answer, but he didn't turn away either. She sat beside him, outside. Men in suits walked the grounds, speaking in low voices. She didn't like the way they moved. Too stiff, too aware of their surroundings. People like that weren't here to check on the garden. Maya pulled out her sketch pad and began drawing a tree. A big one with roots curling under the soil and birds in the branches. Ethan leaned over, watching. "You want to help?" she asked. He picked up a yellow pencil and made a sun in the corner. Her heart bloomed. They colored in silence, broken only by Ethan's soft breathing and the occasional scratch of graphite on paper. Then downstairs, a raised voice pierced the quiet. Maya stiffened. It wasn't Vincent. It was someone else, sharp, male, angry. She looked at the door, then back at Ethan. He didn't flinch, but his pencil stilled. Maya touched his shoulder gently. "Stay here, baby. I'm going to check on something." She stepped into the hallway. The voice grew louder as she moved toward the staircase. "I don't care what his kid needs," the man snarled. "That woman is a problem," Maya froze. "She's just a waitress," the voice continued. "You can't trust people like that." "Not with your blood, Aosa," Vincent's voice low and calm. "Be careful who you insult in my house." Maya's jaw tightened. She moved closer, peering around the corner just enough to see them. Vincent standing tall, expression like stone, and a man in a dark suit with slicked back hair. Eyes sharp as razors. The man turned. "Is that her?" Vincent didn't look. "Go back to your meeting." "Morales, we're done here, Morales." So, that was the partner family, and they didn't like her one bit. Maya turned and walked quietly back to Ethan's room. He was still coloring. She sat beside him, heart pounding. "You're okay?" she whispered. "I got you that night." Vincent came to her before she left. He found her in the garden, seated on a stone bench under the magnolia, watching the petals fall like silent snow. "I owe you an apology," he said. She didn't look at him. "For what? Letting your friends talk trash about me or just letting them stay?" "I can't control what they say," he replied. "But you can control who gets a seat at your table." She shot back, finally facing him. Silence. "I heard what he said," she added. "About me. About Ethan. I'm handling it. You better," she said. "Because if I ever feel like that boy's safety is being traded for loyalty, I walk and you won't get a second chance." Vincent looked at her, something hot and bitter behind his eyes. "You think I'd ever let anything happen to him? I think people with blood on their hands sometimes forget what clean hands look like. That hit him." She saw it. He exhaled slowly. "Stay for dinner." She blinked. "What?" "Ethan asked if you were eating with us." Her heart softened just a little. "I thought he didn't speak." "He said one word, Maya." She nodded slowly. "Then I guess I'm staying." "No." The dining room at the Duca estate was nothing like Maya had imagined a child would feel comfortable in. The table was a polished mahogany slab long enough to seat 20. Heavy chandeliers dangled above like upside-down castles, casting golden light on silverware that gleamed with the kind of wealth most people only saw in magazines. But tonight only 3 seats were set, one at the head and 2 closer together at the far end. When Maya entered with Ethan's tiny hand clutched in hers, she expected him to hesitate. Instead, he walked forward, clutching his lion and dragging his socked feet across the glossy floor like a kid who'd finally found solid ground. Vincent was already seated, a glass of water in front of him. Sleeves rolled to his elbows, hair slightly tousled, less kingpin. "More, father, you came," he said simply. "I said I would," Mia replied. Guiding Ethan to the seat next to her, she sat between the boy and Vincent. A quiet wall between 2 worlds. Ethan didn't speak, but he stared up at Maya until she smiled. Then he looked at the plate in front of him. Pasta with red sauce and 3 perfect meatballs. His nose wrinkled. Maya leaned close. "Too red?" He nodded. Vincent motioned toward one of the kitchen staff. "Plain buttered noodles now?" The man nodded and disappeared. Maya raised an eyebrow. "You don't say please." Vincent looked amused. "I don't need to, well, maybe you should." She glanced at Ethan. "You're teaching him even when you don't realize it." Vincent paused, then turned toward the kitchen. "Please," Maya smirked. Dinner resumed. The silence wasn't awkward. It was cautious, like no one wanted to speak too loudly and break the spell. Ethan picked at his noodles once they arrived, eating slowly but steadily. Maya coaxed him with little jokes and soft encouragement, her voice like a lullaby that knew when to whisper and when to retreat. After a while, Vincent leaned back in his chair. "He's eating more with you than he has all week." Maya didn't respond with words. She just smiled and sipped her water. Vincent studied her for a moment. "Where'd you learn how to talk to kids like that?" "My grandma ran a daycare out of our house for 30 years, she said. "We were always surrounded by noise. Crying, screaming, giggling. I learned early that kids don't want to be talked at. They want to be heard." Vincent nodded. "Your grandmother sounds like a remarkable woman. She is. She still calls me every Sunday to make sure I haven't been arrested or joined a cult." That earned a chuckle from Vincent. Genuine, rough-edged, and unexpected. Ethan glanced at him and blinked. Maya caught it. "He notices your laugh." Vincent looked over at his son. He used to laugh all the time with her. Maya lowered her fork. What was she like? His mother. Vincent's face softened, but his eyes turned distant, gentle, too gentle for this world. She used to say Ethan had a soul made of glass, fragile, but full of light. She protected that light like her own heart. Maya nodded. Sounds like she loved deeply. She did. The silence that followed was heavy, but not uncomfortable. After dinner, Ethan grew tired. He rubbed his eyes and leaned into Maya's side. She stroked his hair, humming under her breath. Vincent watched them from across the table. He looked like a man remembering a dream he didn't want to wake from. I can put him to bed, Maya offered. Vincent stood. No, let me. I need to. She nodded and handed Ethan over gently. The boy whimpered at first, but didn't fight it. He let Vincent carry him, arms looped around his father's neck, head resting on his shoulder. Maya watched them disappear down the hallway and felt a pang of something she couldn't name. She hadn't come here looking for attachment, and yet here she was, sitting in a stranger's dining room, feeling more at home than she had in years. A few minutes later, she found herself in the small library again, sipping tea from a delicate cup. Rosa had offered it without a word. Vincent returned not long after. No jacket, no mask, just a man trying. He fell asleep fast, he said. Didn't even ask for the lion. He knew you were there, Maya replied. Vincent sat across from her, elbows resting on his knees. Why are you really helping him? Maya tilted her head. I told you, you said he reminded you of someone. But I don't think that's all. She paused. I know what it's like to feel invisible, to scream and have no one listen, to need something you can't name. And I don't want him to grow up thinking he has to be silent to be safe. Vincent leaned back slowly. You ever think about kids of your own? Maya smiled sadly once. But I'm not sure the world I live in is kind enough yet. Vincent didn't push. I'm not a nanny, she added. And I'm not trying to be. You don't need a title to matter, he said. That landed harder than she expected. They sat in silence for a while, the kind of stillness that only comes when two people have stopped pretending. Maya stood. I should go, I'll walk you out. And as they reached the front door, Vincent paused. You know Morales won't let this go, right? I figured if you keep helping Ethan, you'll be seen as part of my house, and that's a problem for them. Yes, Maya looked him dead in the eyes. Then let him watch. I'm not going anywhere. Vincent stared at her for a long moment. You remind me of her, your wife? No, you're fiercer. Maya stepped outside into the night. Then pray they know what they're messing with. Then the next morning was colder than usual. A bitter wind swept across the Duca estate, rattling the iron gates and brushing dry leaves across the long cobblestone driveway. Maya arrived in her usual hoodie and jeans, fingers stuffed deep into her pockets. Jaw clenched tight, not from the weather, but from the tension she'd carried since Vincent's words the night before. You'll be seen as part of my house, she hadn't told Christina yet. Her roommate already thought she was crazy for getting involved in a Mafia family's drama, and maybe she was, but the thought of walking away from Ethan felt like abandoning someone who didn't have a choice. And Maya had done that once before to Malik, and she'd be damned if she did it again. As she stepped through the foyer, Rosa met her with a look that was equal parts curiosity and concern. There was a car parked across the street all night, Rosa said quietly, handing her a scarf, unmarketed. Didn't move. Maya frowned, wrapping the scarf around her neck. Should I be worried? Mr. Duca said not to be, Rosa replied. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared, Mia swallowed. Prepared for what? Being tested, Rosa said. They always test new loyalties. That sat heavy in Maya's chest. She didn't like being considered anyone's loyalty. She was here for Ethan, that was all, upstairs. Ethan was already awake, sitting on the window bench with his lion in his lap. The boy looked sleepy, but calm. When he saw Maya, his face lit up, not with a smile, but with recognition. Maya smiled softly. Hey, sleepyhead. He slid off the bench and walked to her, wrapping his small arms around her leg. She bent down and pulled him into a full hug, breathing in the scent of fabric softener and something sweeter like safety. Want to draw today? She whispered. Ethan nodded. They spent the morning in the art room, a bright sunlit space Ma hadn't seen before. Rosa had set it up while Mia was asleep the night before. Easels, chalks, finger paints, even a small apron that Ethan refused to wear. He dipped his fingers in blue paint and made swirls across a sheet of paper while Mia sat beside him. Drawing birds in charcoal, do you like it here? She asked softly. Ethan looked up. His eyes searched hers for a moment. Then he nodded once. She leaned in. You can tell me anything, you know, even if it's hard. Even if it's scary. He didn't answer. But he didn't turn away either. It was enough. Later that afternoon, Vincent summoned her to his private study. Maya walked in cautiously. expecting another conversation about Morales or politics, or some veiled threat he couldn't explain yet. But the moment she entered, she saw the envelope on the desk. It was thick, sealed with red wax, and resting atop a black leather folder. "What's that?" she asked. Vincent didn't look up. He was seated in a high-backed chair. Fingers steepled, brows furrowed. A warning, she waited. He picked up the envelope and held it out. "Take it." She opened it slowly. Pulling out a photo, her heart dropped. It was her walking out of the diner last week. Holding Ethan's hand near the SUV, the picture was grainy, taken from a distance, but unmistakable. There was also a printed note, "Babysitter's break, so do next." Maya stared at it for a long moment, her pulse roaring in her ears. She looked up, voice steady despite the ice climbing her spine. "They're threatening a child." "They're threatening me," Vincent said, "through you. I'm not scared of cowards with cameras." "You should be," he said. "They want you to leave quietly, and if I don't, they'll make noise." Maya folded the photo and placed it back into the envelope. "You said they were watching, so let them. I'm not leaving." "Ethan," Vincent stood. "You shouldn't have to fight my war." "I'm not," she said. "I'm fighting his." Their eyes locked for a long, heavy moment. Then Vincent nodded once slowly. "You're braver than I am." "No," she said, "I just have less to lose." His face twitched at that. He moved around the desk, picked up a small key from a drawer, and handed it to her. "This is for the back gate. If you ever need to leave without being seen," Maya took it. "I don't plan on running." "Well, it's not for you," he said. "It's for him that night." Mia stayed later than usual. Ethan had asked her to read him a bedtime story, something about a turtle who traveled the world. She sat on the edge of the bed, his lion tucked under his arm, her voice soft and steady as she read. She noticed his eyelids growing heavy, just as she reached the last page. "He mumbled something, Maya." She froze. "Yeah, baby." His voice was slurred, drowsy. "Are you going to leave like Mommy?" Maya's chest ached so suddenly she couldn't breathe for a moment. She stroked his hair, swallowing the lump in her throat. "No, sweetheart, I'm right here." "I'm not going anywhere." Ethan didn't respond. He'd already drifted off. She sat there a while longer, hands still in his hair, watching his chest rise and fall. Outside the window, the wind picked up, scattering petals across the darkened garden. Somewhere in the house, a door creaked, and in her gut, Mia knew this was only the beginning. At 3:12 a.m., Maya woke up gasping. She sat upright on the guest bed sheets, tangled around her legs, heart hammering, skin damp with sweat. For a moment, she didn't know where she was. The dark wood-paneled walls, the antique lamp with the glass pull chain, the scent of lavender sachets in the drawer. This wasn't her apartment, the Duca estate. She rubbed her face, trying to calm her racing heart. The dream, no, the memory lingered. Malik calling her name, his little fingers clawing at the air, her legs too slow. The door closing before she could reach him. She blinked hard, shook it off, and stood. Silence hung heavy in the house, not peaceful silence, but the kind that felt too still. Maya grabbed her sweater and stepped barefoot into the hallway. The sconces were dimmed low, just enough to guide someone through the night without bumping into priceless antiques. She turned the corner toward the stairs, intending to check on Ethan, but the faint scent of something acrid caught her nose sharp. Chemical, wrong smoke. Her body went rigid. She turned, following the scent like an animal on instinct, down the back hall, and through the French doors that led to the garden. Outside, the cold slapped her skin, but it wasn't the chill that made her stop. There, at the edge of the garden near the magnolia tree, a small fire smoldered low in a flower bed. Black smoke curled up from a pile of scorched paper. Someone had tried to destroy something, and in a rush, Maya approached, heart pounding. She grabbed the nearest garden hose and doused the embers until they hissed and steamed. Then she reached in with the tip of a stick and flipped through what was left. One piece hadn't fully burned. She picked it up carefully. The edges were charred, but the center was legible. A photo, grainy, like the one from earlier. But this one showed Vincent standing near a loading dock with a man Maya didn't recognize. Her stomach dropped. Vincent had said Morales was sending warnings, but this felt more like surveillance from within. She folded the picture, tucked it into her pocket, and turned back to the house. Someone was watching them. Someone inside. Vincent was already in the hallway when Maya returned. His shirt was half-buttoned, hair disheveled, a pistol tucked into the back waistband of his pants. "Rosa woke me," he said before she could speak. "She checks the security feeds every few hours." Maya held out the photo. "Someone burned this in your garden." He took it, his jaw clenched. "Not Morales," he said. "They wouldn't be this sloppy. This is someone closer. How close?" Vincent didn't answer. Instead, he turned and motioned for her to follow. They walked to the control room in the East Wing, a stark, Modern space that didn't match the rest of the old world decor. Monitors lined the walls, blinking in shades of blue and green, displaying every inch of the estate's grounds. Rosa was at the desk scrolling through footage. "Rewind to 2 to 45, Vincent said. She complied. They watched as a hooded figure moved through the hedge near the garden. No face, no clear shape, just a shadow with purpose. Maya squinted. "They knew the blind spots." Vincent nodded grimly. "That narrows it down, to your own staff." Vincent said nothing. Rosa spoke instead. "We've had leaks before, small ones. Information bleeding out, but never this close to the boy." Mia crossed her arms. "So what now?" Vincent stared at the screen, then at Maya. "Now we tighten the circle. By sunrise." 3 house staff members had been quietly dismissed. No scene, no confrontation, just envelopes, farewells, and one-way rides out of the city. Vincent didn't share the details with Maya, but she saw the flicker of guilt in his eyes when he said goodbye to one of the older maids, a woman who'd been there since before Ethan was born. "Are you sure she was involved?" Mia asked later when they stood outside Ethan's room. Vincent didn't answer right away. "I'm sure she knew." Maya exhaled slowly. "You're bleeding this house dry just to keep your kids safe." "That's what fathers do," he said. She looked at him. "Is it?" Vincent turned to face her. "What do you think I should do?" "I think you should stop building a fortress and start building a family," she said. "There's a difference." He didn't reply. A moment later, Ethan's door creaked open. The boy peeked out, hair mussed, lion in hand. Maya crouched down. "Hey, sweet pea, you okay?" Ethan blinked sleepily, then reached for her. She picked him up and kissed the top of his head. "Come on, let's go get some breakfast. Pancakes sound good?" He nodded against her shoulder. Vincent watched them, the weight in his chest rising again. This woman had walked into his world uninvited, unafraid, and now she was carrying his son through the wreckage like she'd been born for it. He just hoped she didn't burn with the house if it all came down. That night, after Ethan had gone to sleep, Vincent walked Ma out to the garden again. The spot where the fire had been was rad, but the air still smelled like warning. "You should leave," he said quietly. "Now, before they come for you harder." Maya turned to face him. "I've been through worse. You don't understand." "No," she interrupted. "You don't understand. I don't run just because someone lights a match." Vincent stepped closer, voice lower. "If anything happened to you, I'm not your weakness." "Vincent?" He looked at her, then really looked. "You might be—" That silenced her. For a long, quiet minute, all that existed was wind and dusk and breath between them. Then Maya stepped back, pulling her sweater tighter. "Good night, Vincent." He didn't try to stop her, but he watched her walk away with a heaviness in his gut he hadn't felt since the funeral. Because this time he wasn't losing a wife. He was starting to fear he might lose the only person who could save his son. The next day brought an uneasy quiet, the kind that settles after a storm where the clouds haven't quite cleared and everyone waits for the next crack of thunder. Maya arrived early, earlier than usual. Something inside her told her today might shift things again. Rosa met her at the kitchen door, apron dusted with flour, a tray of cinnamon rolls cooling behind her. "He's already asking for you," she said with a tired smile. Maya nodded, pulling off her coat. "You look like you haven't slept." "I haven't, none of us have, why?" "What happened?" Rosa hesitated. "One of the dismissed staff tried to come back last night. Claimed he forgot something. But he wasn't alone." Maya's pulse picked up. "He brought someone. 2 men armed. Security handled it before they reached the east wing." "Mr. Duca didn't want to wake the boy. And me?" Maya asked, narrowing her eyes. "You weren't in danger. They never made it past the gates." Maya didn't like the way Rosa said that. She didn't like that the game was getting riskier. Ethan was building towers out of wooden blocks. When Mia entered his room, she paused in the doorway, watching him stack each piece with laser focus. His lion sat next to him, guarding the base of the structure like a loyal sentry. "Can I help?" she asked gently. Ethan didn't speak, but he patted the floor beside him. She sat, folded her legs, and picked up a block. "This looks like a castle." He nodded. "Who lives there?" He pointed at the lion. Maya smiled. "Of course he does. Brave enough to protect the whole kingdom." Ethan paused, then picked up a small knight figurine from the nearby toy box and placed it beside the lion. Maya tilted her head. "That is friend." Ethan looked up at her. Then with a small voice, he said, "Malik." Maya froze. It was the first time he'd ever spoken a name other than hers. Her heart stuttered, mouth suddenly dry. "Malik," she whispered. Ethan nodded solemnly. Maya blinked back the sudden sting in her eyes. She reached out and touched his cheek gently. "That was my brother's name." Ethan tilted his head like he was trying to understand something he couldn't put into words. She took a shaky breath. You remember when I said you reminded me of someone? That was him, Malik. He was sweet like you, brave, quiet. He didn't always know how to say what he felt, but he had a big heart. Ethan looked at the knight, then up at her. Then slowly he reached out and placed the knight in her hand. A gift, Maya swallowed. Thank you, baby. She kissed his forehead. Downstairs, Vincent was pacing his office. Luca, one of his oldest associates, stood by the window, arms crossed. It's not Morales, he said. They wouldn't be this direct. They'd send a message through someone else. Then who? Vincent snapped. That's the thing, Luca said. No one's claiming it. No threats, no demands. Just photos, surveillance, probes. Vincent narrowed his eyes. Someone inside is trying to fracture us before they strike. Luca hesitated. There's another theory. Vincent looked up. Luca stepped forward. What if it's not about you? The silence was heavy. What if it's about her, Maya? Vincent didn't speak for a long time. Then why would anyone target her? Luca shrugged. Whoever's behind this knows she matters. That makes her a pressure point. Vincent's fingers clenched into fists. No one touches her. I want full surveillance, keep it invisible. But if anyone even blinks in her direction wrong, I want to know. Luca nodded. As he turned to leave, Vincent added quietly. She saved my son's soul, Luca stopped. And yours? Vincent didn't answer later that afternoon. Maya sat with Ethan in the reading nook. He was nestled into her side, dozing, his fingers tangled in her sleeve. She was just about to drift off with him, when she heard footsteps behind her. Vincent stood there silent. Sorry, she whispered. I think we both needed a nap. I'm not here to interrupt. She eased Ethan onto a pillow and stood, motioning Vincent to the hallway. He followed her into the corridor where the light filtered through stained glass and colored the walls with gold and blue. He spoke softly. He said a name today. Maya looked up. Surprised, you heard? I hear everything through that monitor in my study. She crossed her arms. I didn't know you were watching me. I'm not, he said. I'm watching him. But when he's with you, I can breathe, she softened. Malik, he said almost reverently. That was your brother? Yeah, she whispered. He died when I was 16, seizure. I was supposed to be watching him, and I wasn't. Vincent didn't speak. Maya shrugged, eyes glistening. Ethan remembers somehow. He remembers that name. I've never said it around him. Vincent stepped closer. You've made a mark on him, something deep. That doesn't just come from showing up. That comes from caring. She looked at him. I'm not used to this. What? Being needed? Vincent's expression shifted. Neither am I. Their eyes locked, and for the first time, neither of them looked away. That night, as Maya left the estate through the back gate, something rustled in the hedge. She paused. A shadow slipped between the trees. Fast, too fast to identify, her breath caught. She reached into her bag slowly, fingers brushing the pepper spray Rosa had given her weeks ago. The wind shifted. Silence returned. But Maya didn't relax, because somewhere in that silence, she felt it again, a name, a warning. They weren't just watching, they were waiting. The next morning arrived with clouds too low, too heavy for a city used to Sunday. Los Angeles didn't get many gray days. But today, the sky hung like a warning, pressing everything beneath it into unease. Maya didn't take the back gate. She entered through the front, chin high, eyes alert after the shadow in the hedge the night before. She'd slept with a chair propped against her bedroom door and a flashlight under her pillow. It wasn't fear, not exactly. It was knowing too well that silence was sometimes a predator's favorite sound. The estate seemed normal, too quiet. Rosa greeted her with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. He's still sleeping, but there's someone you should meet. She's in the kitchen. She says she's family. Maya narrowed her eyes. Vincent. Rosa nodded once, then leaned in. Watch yourself, Mia. This one's all sugar on the outside. But something in her smile feels sharp. Maya stepped into the kitchen. And there she was. Blonde, thin, manicured, designer. Everything from her nails to her belt buckle. She looked like the kind of woman who had people to walk her dog and someone else to blame when her coffee was wrong. The woman turned, flashing a practiced grin. You must be Maya. I've heard so much about you. Maya stood her ground. Funny. I haven't heard a thing about you, the woman laughed, light, melodic. Rehearsed. Oh, sweetheart, I'm Isabella Duca. Vincent's sister. Maya blinked. He'd never mentioned a sister. Isabella walked toward her, heels silent on the marble floor. You've done wonders with my nephew. Vincent's always been complicated. But you've stirred something in him. She leaned in, voice syrupy. That's dangerous. You know, Maya met her gaze, still behind her calm. What exactly are you trying to say? Isabella's smile didn't budge. Just that attachments in this world don't always end well. Before Maya could answer, a voice cut in from behind. Isabella, Vincent said, his tone clipped. She turned smoothly. Brother, I was just complimenting your nanny. She's not a nanny, he said flatly. Oh, Isabella lifted a brow. Then what is she? Vincent looked past his sister to Maya. She's someone I trust. Maya's throat tightened, but she didn't let it show. Isabella's smile thinned. Trust is expensive in our world. Vincent stepped between them. Maya, can you check on Ethan? She didn't need to be told twice. She left the kitchen without a glance back, but her skin buzzed with the feeling of something unfinished. Ethan was awake, sitting cross-legged on his bed, the lion in his lap. He looked up when she entered and reached for her. Maya crawled onto the bed beside him and hugged him tight. Good morning, sunshine. He clung to her for a moment longer than usual. Did you have a bad dream? She asked. Ethan didn't answer, but he nodded. What was it about? He pressed his face into her shoulder. The woman? Maya's body went still. What woman? Ethan whispered. She was smiling, but it wasn't real. Maya's skin prickled. She pulled back, held his face gently in her hands. You're safe now, baby. I'm here. No one's going to hurt you. But even as she said the words, she wasn't sure she believed them. Later that day, Maya stood alone on the second-floor balcony, looking out over the garden where the fire had been set days before. The ashes were long cleaned up, the flowers replanted, but the feeling remained, like something had been planted there too. Something buried. Vincent joined her without a word. Why didn't you tell me you had a sister? Maya asked. He exhaled. Because she doesn't visit unless there's an angle. And what's her angle now? Control, he said. She's always wanted to shape the legacy. Our father promised her the East Coast operation before he died. But when Ethan was born, everything changed. Maya frowned. She sees Ethan as a threat. She sees him as weak. And she thinks my grief makes me weaker. She's wrong. She's dangerous. Vincent said Isabella doesn't draw blood with knives. She uses charm, poison, and words. And if she's here, it's because someone let her in. Maya turned to him. And what about you? Are you going to let her stay? For now, he said. I need to know what she wants. But I won't let her near Ethan. She already got in his head, Maya said quietly. He dreamed about her. Vincent went still, smiling. Maya added, but it wasn't real. Vincent's voice was low. Then we watch her every step, Maya nodded. What about Morales? Vincent's jaw tensed. He's gone quiet, which means he's watching us wait for a move that's already in play. And me? He looked at her. You're a target now, he said. But you're also the only thing keeping my son tethered to anything human. Maya swallowed hard. That's a hell of a burden. It's not a burden, he said. It's the only reason I haven't burned it all down. That night, Maya didn't sleep at home. She stayed at the estate in the room next to Ethan's. Just before dawn, she heard footsteps outside her door. Too soft to be Vincent, too late for Rosa. She got up quietly, heart pounding, and crept to the door. It wasn't locked. She eased it open. No one was there. But on the floor in front of her room, placed perfectly, was a single red rose. Its stem had been cut with surgical precision, and tucked beneath it, a photo of her holding Ethan at the garden bench. A smear of red ink ran across the bottom. A flower wilts faster in enemy soil. Maya stared at it, fire rising behind her ribs. You want war? She thought. Then let's start digging graves. Morning came with the scent of brewed espresso and danger thick in the air. Maya hadn't slept. Not really. She'd spent the remaining hours of darkness sitting at the edge of her bed, the rose and the photo laid out on the nightstand like evidence in a trial she hadn't agreed to attend. By the time the sun filtered through the heavy drapes, she was already dressed. Dark jeans, boots, hoodie, not a nanny, not a maid. A woman ready for whatever the day dared to throw downstairs. Rosa was already waiting at the bottom of the staircase, her eyes shadowed with fatigue and something close to worry. I heard you didn't sleep, Rosa said. I didn't. You saw the rose? Maya nodded. And the message. Rosa clicked her tongue and muttered something in Spanish under her breath. She's making her move, Isabella. Rosa gave a knowing look. She always starts with roses, like she wants you to forget they come with thorns. Maya held up the photo. You think she had someone take this? Rosa nodded slowly. Or she took it herself. That sick feeling returned to Maya's gut. She was that close. She's always close when she wants to strike. Vincent was already in the study, shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up. He hadn't shaved. He didn't bother with pleasantries when Maya walked in. You found it? He asked. She dropped the rose and photo on his desk, like an invitation to a funeral. Vincent studied the message, his jaw tightening. A flower wilts faster in enemy soil, he read aloud. She's telling you you don't belong. I got that, Maya replied. He looked up at her. This is how she starts. Psychological warfare. She erodes confidence, makes you question your place before she attacks your purpose. Maya's voice was flat. I'm not afraid of her. You should be, Vincent said quietly. Because she's not here to destroy you. She's here to replace you, Maya folded her arms. With who? You'll know soon enough. That afternoon, Maya took Ethan for a walk around the garden. She didn't mention the rose, didn't show him the photo, but he was quieter than usual, his steps smaller, his grip tighter around her hand. When they reached the swing under the sycamore tree, he refused to sit in it. Why not? She asked softly. She was here, he whispered. Last night, nah. Maya knelt. You saw her? He nodded. Did she speak to you? He shook his head, eyes wide. Did she touch you? He shook his head again. Okay, did Vincent? You don't like me very much, do you? Isabella said playfully as she poured herself a mimosa. I'm indifferent, Maya replied. Which is probably worse, Isabella T. asked. Jealousy doesn't suit you. I'm not jealous, Maya said. Sitting beside Ethan, I'm just not stupid. Isabella's smile widened. Careful, dear. Pride goes before the fall. Maya leaned in, her voice low and razor-sharp. So does arrogance. And you're wobbling on 6-inch heels over a minefield? The table went quiet. Vincent didn't interrupt. He didn't even blink. Ethan clutched Maya's hand under the table. After breakfast, Isabella disappeared into the West Wing. Vincent's late wife's old suite. Maya didn't follow. She didn't need to. She knew what the woman was doing. Planting herself, making space, redecorating history. That evening, Rosa found Maya in the garden again. She's sending Ethan to a special school, Rosa said, handing her a folded document. Maya read it once. Then again, a private boarding school in Switzerland. Full-time care, intensive behavior therapy. Vincent didn't sign this, Maya said, voice shaking. No, Rosa replied. But Isabella had a copy made with his name forged at the bottom. Maya's eyes burned. She's trying to take him away from us. She's almost succeeded before. Maya stood, heart thudding, not this time. She looked up toward the West Wing window where Isabella stood. Watching, she smiled, that same perfect, polished, poisonous smile, but Maya didn't look away. She let her see it, her rage, her resolve, her warning. You can plant roses all over this estate, but I'm the storm that rips them from the root. 2 nights later, the Duca estate held a dinner party. It was Isabella's idea, a gathering of key associates, distant family, and a carefully curated list of allies, most of whom had more to gain from Vincent's collapse than his survival. Maya didn't want to attend. She would have preferred to stay with Ethan, away from clinking glasses and serpentine smiles. But Rosa insisted. She's using this to mark territory, Rosa said, pinning a vintage brooch to Maya's dress. And if you don't show up, she wins. Maya tugged awkwardly at the high neckline. I don't fit in with these people. Rosa gave her a look. Neither did Ethan's mother. But she never let that stop her. That made Maya still. She stepped into the ballroom an hour later, wearing a simple black dress and boots under the hem. She didn't bother with heels or diamonds. Her only accessory was the thin silver bracelet Ethan had wrapped around her wrist that morning. Sticky with jelly and heart, the room quieted as she entered. Not fully, not obviously, but the kind of hush that travels like static. A glance here, a whisper there. Vincent saw her immediately. He was in conversation with 2 men Maya recognized from news articles. Industrial billionaires with polished smiles and dead eyes. But he excused himself mid-sentence and made his way to her. You clean up nice, he said softly. I didn't do it for them, she smirked. You're not on the menu tonight. No, she said. I'm the knife under the table. Vincent's smirk faded into something more serious. Keep it close. The dinner was formal, too formal. Courses rolled out like acts in a play. Braised lamb, saffron risotto, honey-glazed carrots. Maya barely touched her plate. She didn't trust anything that smelled too perfect. Isabella sat at the far end of the long table, dressed in ivory, hair pinned back like old Hollywood royalty. She raised her glass to toast halfway through the meal. To family, she said, and to restoring the Duca name to its rightful shape. There was applause. Maya's eyes narrowed. Vincent didn't clap. Later, as servers cleared plates and music played softly in the background, Maya slipped away to check on Ethan. The noise was too much. The performance too thick. She needed air. She found Ethan in his room, asleep. Lion tucked tight under his chin. She kissed his forehead, lingered a second longer than necessary, and turned to leave. And that's when she heard it. Voices raised coming from the hallway. She followed them. Vincent and Isabella were in the study. The door cracked open just enough. She's not staying, Isabella snapped. She's not leaving, Vincent growled. She's a liability. A waitress with a dead brother and a bleeding heart. You're risking everything for her. She's the reason Ethan stopped screaming at night, Isabella scoffed. Children adapt. He's not a plant, Isa. You don't repot him when he outgrows the container. Isabella's voice dropped to a hiss. I gave you time to grieve. I let you flounder. But now it's my turn to restore this family. Vincent's voice was pure venom. You're not taking him. He's not even yours, she said coldly. Silence. Maya's breath caught. Vincent didn't speak. Isabella stepped closer. You think you're the only one who's made sacrifices? I cleaned up after our father. I held the pieces together while you mourned a woman who betrayed you. And now you cling to a boy who, let's be honest, has no claim to this empire. Maya backed away. Her heart thundered. No claim? Not his. She returned to Ethan's room. Hands shaking, she sat on the edge of the bed, staring at the child who had wrapped himself around her heart, who trusted her with more than words. He wasn't Vincent. Later that night, Vincent found her on the back porch. She was wrapped in a blanket. Staring out at the fog-drenched garden, he sat beside her, silent for a moment. You heard her, he said. Maya didn't look at him. You should have told me how. I wanted to. But I didn't want you to see him as less. I don't, Vincent looked out over the lawn. Biologically, he's not mine, but my wife. She loved him. I didn't know at first, I suspected. But by the time I got confirmation, I didn't care. Maya finally turned to him. Does Ethan know? No, he said. And he never will, not from me. Blood isn't what raised him. It was hands, nights, promises. And I've kept every damn one. Maya felt tears pressing at the corners of her eyes. She's going to use that to take him. She won't, he said. Because now I have something she doesn't. What? You, Vincent said. You love him without obligation. That terrifies her, Maya exhaled. She's not going to stop. No, he said. So we don't either. She stood slowly, the blanket slipping from her shoulders. Then let's start fighting. Vincent looked up at her. And for a brief second she looked like someone else. Someone bigger, unshakable. He stood too. Are you with me? He asked. May not. Not for you, she said. For him. They didn't shake on it, didn't hug, but something in the air sealed it anyway. A pact. A promise. A storm preparing to rise. 2 days passed, and the mansion held its breath. Maya had grown used to the quiet between storms, but this calm felt different, heavier, like the air was learning how to break before the thunder returned. Everyone in the estate moved with the same tension. Footsteps softer. Glances longer, conversations clipped. Isabella was nowhere to be seen. She's planning something, Rosa muttered. Cutting onions in the kitchen. She disappears right before the knife gets in. Maya nodded. Stirring the pot of lentils for Ethan's lunch, I know I can feel it. She had spent the last 48 hours beside Ethan, reading to him, drawing with him, walking the garden paths until he tired. There were fewer words but more connection, and something had begun to shift in the boy. He reached for her more, leaned on her longer, whispered her name in his sleep. Maya didn't say it aloud, but she knew Ethan was choosing her, and that made her more dangerous to Isabella than ever. At sunset, the silence shattered. A car pulled up to the front gate, sleek, black, and unfamiliar. Vincent was already in the security room before Rosa had the chance to alert him. Open it, he said to the guard. Rosa's brows lifted. You know who it is? Yes, he said grimly. Isabella's final card. The gates parted, and the car slid in like a whisper. The driver opened the back door, and out stepped a woman Maya had never seen before. Tall, early 40s, dressed in white from collar to heel. Her heels barely clicked, but somehow she made the marble floor hum beneath her. Vincent met her at the base of the stairs. Caroline, he said. Maya stood just behind him. Watching, the woman smiled. Cool, elegant, unreadable. It's been a long time. Vincent, Maya felt a chill went up her spine. Vincent didn't move. Why are you here? Your sister sent for me. She had no right. I have every right. Isabella's voice echoed from above. She stood at the landing in a red dress, framed by gold light like a painting of power. She is Ethan's biological mother, Isabella added, descending slowly. And she's come to claim her son. Huh? Maya's breath left her body. The woman in white was Ethan's birth mother. Caroline turned to Maya, eyes narrowing. So you're the one who's been playing mommy? Maya took a step forward. I've been caring for him, loving him. Something you gave up the day you left? Caroline didn't flinch. I did what I had to do. I wasn't ready. Then you don't get to come back now that he's happy, Maya snapped. Vincent raised a hand between them. Enough. But neither woman backed down. Caroline shifted her eyes to Vincent. You forged custody papers. You knew he wasn't yours. And you claimed him anyway. That's illegal. Vincent's voice was ice. Then sue me. But you're not taking him? You don't have a choice, Isabella said smoothly. She's filed the paperwork. Court-appointed mediator arrives in 48 hours. Ethan's future will be reviewed formally. Maya turned to Vincent. Tell me this isn't happening. He didn't answer because it was. That night Maya couldn't sleep. She sat in Ethan's room long after he drifted off. Lying in his arms, she watched him breathe, chest rising and falling in soft rhythm. And her heart ached like a bruise being pressed over and over. Caroline's voice replayed in her head. "You're the one who's been playing mommy." She wasn't playing. This child was hers in every way that mattered. And she was going to lose him unless she did something unthinkable. She pulled out her phone and dialed a number she hadn't touched in years. Her sister answered on the second ring. "Cheryl," Maya whispered, voice raw. "I need a favor." "A big one. Maya, is that you?" I don't have time," she cut in. "I need every record we ever had on Malik's doctors. The file from social services, everything. Can you get it?" A long pause. "You're finally ready to fight back?" Cheryl asked. "No," Maya said. "I'm ready to win." The next morning, Maya entered the dining room where Caroline was sipping tea like a visiting queen. "Good morning," Caroline said coolly. "Cut the act," Maya said, slapping a file onto the table. Caroline blinked. Maya leaned in. "You walked out of the hospital the day Ethan was diagnosed. I have the reports. I have the interviews. You abandoned him." "I was scared," Caroline said. "You were selfish." Caroline stood slowly. "Don't you dare lecture me!" "He started hurting himself. And you ran," Maya said, voice rising. "You wanted a perfect child. And when he didn't fit your picture, you handed him off like a broken toy." Vincent entered behind them. Eyes hard. "She's right," Caroline spun. "You forged a life. I built one," Vincent growled. "You handed Ethan to my wife like he was a burden. You don't get to rewrite history now just because my sister wants to clean house." Isabella appeared in the doorway. "This is over." "No," Maya said. "It's just beginning." She turned to Vincent. "We go public." His brows lifted. "What?" Maya's voice was clear. "You hold the most powerful crime syndicate in the western states. You've bribed judges, buried enemies, rewritten fate. But if you want to protect Ethan now, you need to use your name." Vincent stared at her. "You're asking me to expose everything." "I'm asking you to protect your son like he's yours," Maya said. "Because in every way that counts he is." Silence. Then Vincent nodded. "We call a press conference," Isabella laughed. "You'll destroy everything we built." Vincent looked at her like he'd already buried her once. Then maybe it wasn't worth building. Maya walked back to Ethan's room later. Heart pounding, hands cold. She opened the door slowly. Ethan was sitting up, awake. He looked at her and whispered, "Mommy." Maya dropped to her knees, eyes wet, arms out. He crawled into them without hesitation. He had chosen. He knew. And she would burn the world to keep him. There were certain rules in Vincent Duca's world. Never owe anyone. Never speak on record. And never, ever let the world see you bleed. But by morning, all 3 rules were shattered. The press conference was set up with less than 12 hours' notice. No handlers, no PR team, no polished talking points, just Vincent, Maya, and Ethan watching from a safe room in a small crowd of reporters who had been promised a story too big to ignore. As cameras clicked and lights flared, Maya stood off to the side, just out of frame. Her arms crossed over her chest. Her eyes were red, but her spine was still. Vincent stood at the mic in a black suit, no tie, sleeves rolled. Not the image of a businessman, not a mob boss either. Something in between, something real. He began with silence, letting the tension marinate. Then, "My name is Vincent Duca." Whispers rippled through the crowd. Some already knew, others suspected. But hearing it said made it undeniable. "I have spent my life protecting this family. That protection came at a cost. Mistakes were made. Lines were crossed. I am not proud of all of it." Cameras zoomed in, pens scratched on pads. But none of it compared to the line someone tried to cross this week, taking my son. The crowd stilled. "Ethan came into my life under extraordinary circumstances. He is not my blood, but he is mine. I have raised him, loved him, fought for him. And I will fight anyone who tries to take him from me, including my own family." A reporter raised a hand. "Is this about your sister's petition to remove custody?" "Yes," Vincent said. "And it's about the woman she brought back, Ethan's birth mother, who abandoned him as an infant when doctors said he might never speak." Maya flinched but stood taller. She walked toward him. Another question. "Who is Maya Williams?" Vincent looked toward her, then back at the crowd. "She's the reason my son sleeps through the night. She's the reason he smiles. She's the only real mother he's ever known." Maya's throat tightened. A reporter swiveled their camera toward her. She turned her face slightly but didn't run. Vincent continued. "This isn't just a fight for custody. It's a fight for what matters. Love, loyalty, safety. My son has all 3 with Maya. And no court, no bloodline, No deception will change that. A third question. Are you prepared for the legal consequences of this admission? Vincent's lips curled into something halfway between a smirk and a snarl. I've been prepared my whole life, back at the estate. Isabella's rage was nuclear. She tore through the east wing, knocking over a vase that shattered like glass bones on tile. You let her speak for you, she screamed at Caroline. You just stood there and let her steal the spotlight. Caroline, calmer now but visibly shaken, sat on the velvet chaise. He didn't lie. I don't care if he lied, Isabella snapped. He made her look like the savior and you like a ghost. She is the savior, Caroline whispered. I saw it in his eyes. Isabella turned slowly. Don't get sentimental on me now. You gave up your claim the day you ran. I thought I'd get a second chance, Caroline said. But he doesn't want me, Isabella's voice turned venomous. This isn't about being wanted, this is about power. And you're losing it, said a voice behind them. Luca stepped into the room. Arms folded, eyes cold. Vincent gave the order. You leave tonight, Isabella blinked. Excuse me? You've been stripped of all authority, you're done. You can't do this. Luca stepped closer. He just did. Caroline stood slowly. I'll go quietly. Isabella spun toward her. Coward, Caroline didn't argue. She just looked at Luca. Tell him thank you for raising him. And with that, she walked out, but Isabella didn't move. She stared at the window, teeth clenched, breath shallow. She doesn't win, she whispered. Not yet. That night, Maya sat in Ethan's room, brushing his hair with her fingers as he traced the edge of his lion's ear. You okay, baby? She asked. He nodded. You did great today. He whispered. I saw you. Went on the screen with Daddy? Her heart warmed. Did it scare you? He shook his head. You looked strong. Maya blinked back tears. Will you stay? He asked softly. She bent down and kissed his forehead. Forever. If you'll let me. He hugged her tighter than ever before. And in that moment, Maya knew it wasn't over. Isabella wouldn't vanish. Shadows like hers didn't go quietly. But something had shifted. The boy had chosen. The man had stood. And the woman they all underestimated was still standing. The air in the estate was lighter. Not light, but lighter. The press conference had shifted something. Like breaking a dam just enough to let truth rush in. Ethan laughed more. Rosa hummed again while cooking. Even the guards carried themselves with less tension. Vincent had returned to his study with the door open. A silent invitation Maya hadn't yet accepted. But the quiet didn't last. Maya knew better. 3 days later, a call came in from Luca. Security camera just went dead on the east perimeter, he said. Low and calm. It's either a power glitch or a message. Maya was in the kitchen. Kneeling to tie Ethan's shoes, she froze. Message from who? Luca hesitated. Someone who knows how to bypass our grid. This isn't Isabella's style. Vincent's voice came from the background. It's Morales. Maya straightened. You sure? I wasn't, Vincent said, stepping into view. But now I am. Maya looked down at Ethan. Can you go play with Rosa for a bit? Ethan looked up, sensing the shift in energy. But he nodded and toddled off. She turned to Vincent. What does Morales want now? Vincent's jaw clenched. He wants leverage. And he knows Ethan is mine in every way that matters. Maya's heart stilled. Then he'll come for the boy, Vincent nodded. Unless we get to him first, Maya. That night, Rosa found something tucked into her apron pocket. A note, handwritten in sharp, clean script. The lion sleeps tonight, but not forever. She brought it to Maya and Vincent, her hands shaking. It was on me, she whispered. Inside the house. Vincent cursed under his breath. He's inside the walls. Maya stared at the note. He's not trying to hurt Ethan, not yet. He's taunting us. Why? Because he's waiting for someone to panic, she said, and then make a mistake, die, later. Maya sat beside Ethan as he drifted to sleep. The lion was under his chin again. His fingers curled around it like a lifeline. She looked at him and whispered, You know that lion in your dreams? The one that watches over you? He nodded slowly. That lion is you, baby. He looked confused. May, you're brave, you're strong, and even when the world is loud or scary, you still keep going. Ethan pressed the lion to his chest. You too, her voice cracked. I try. He reached for her, and she wrapped him in her arms. He fell asleep like that. Safe, anchored and dreaming, but Maya didn't. She stayed awake, listening, watching because she knew the garden still held one last snake. The next day, Vincent called an emergency meeting in the old wine cellar. A secure room, off-grid, soundproof. Luca, Rosa, Maya, and 2 of Vincent's most trusted enforcers were present. I want eyes on every exit, drone coverage on the back acres, and infrared monitoring starting tonight, Vincent ordered. Luca nodded. And the boy? Maya asked. He stays close. No school, no outings, no breaks. I don't leave his side. Not even for a minute. One of the men, a grizzled veteran named Mateo, leaned forward. There's chatter that Morales has a buyer. Everyone went still. Vincent's voice was pure steel. For Ethan? Mateo nodded. Not for the boy. For you? He wants to trade Ethan's location for control of the Duca holdings. Maya's heart dropped. He's turning my child into a bargaining chip, Vincent stood. Fists clenched. Then we end it. That night, Maya took Ethan to the panic room beneath the house. It wasn't large, but it was safe. Steel, reinforced, oxygen-regulated, untraceable. She didn't tell him the full truth, just said they were camping inside tonight with snacks, flashlights, and stories. He believed her. As he drifted off, Maya sat beside the small screen that showed the house above. Camera feeds, heat sensors, motion detection. On-screen 6 at 3:17 a.m. Movement near the garden swing. She tapped the feed, zoomed in. There he was. Morales, dressed in black, moving like a ghost. He wasn't armed, at least not visibly. But he didn't need weapons. Just time. Just a chance. Maya whispered into the mic. Vincent, he's here. Within seconds, the house came alive. Silent alarms, motion detectors, hidden doors locking shut. Vincent's voice crackled in her earpiece. Stay with Ethan. I'm going to meet him. Maya gritted her teeth. Don't go alone. I won't, he said. But this ends now. In the garden, under moonlight in the creak of the old swing, Vincent found Morales waiting. You look older, Morales said, smiling. You look smaller, Vincent replied. Like someone who already knows he's lost. I came to negotiate.